Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj Ki Jai.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyata Barakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Ragunatam Pitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishakam Vidam Sya Om Jnana Timaranda Shagana Jana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gurva Bhistam Supurakam Gurganara Sesha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanagam Govinda Bidam Ujwalam Varatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Bande Vishwa Guruncha Divyat Bhagavat Prem Nawe Bija Pranam Devam Divyatanum Suchanda Varanam Balarka Shailanshitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyamburim Sri Siddhanta Nidim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bandetam Shubharam Mareka Sharanam Nyasishvara Shridaram Vansha Kalpatarubhyas Chakripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavenibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo 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 Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Nama. So we're reading from Sri Chaitanya Bhagawat by Srila Vrindaban Das Thakur with translation by Sarvabhavana Das. And this is the Antya-khanda, chapter 2. Sri Chaitanya arrives in Jagannath Puri. So continuing the reading. We started this chapter, so I'll start. Somehow Nityananda Prabhu and Jagannatha Pandit had fallen back a distance from the rest of the group. Sri Chaitanya decided to sit down and wait for the two to catch up with them. Nityananda Prabhu was always engrossed in deep meditation on Sri Chaitanya. This loving mellow made him act intoxicated and seemingly mad. Sometimes he would cry loudly, almost wailing, then suddenly begin roaring loudly with the ear-splitting voice of a thunderbolt. Then again, he would abruptly start to laugh while rolling on the ground. Whenever he saw a river or stream, he would plunge into the water and swim about in various directions for a long time. Then at other times, he would cover his body with dust. He would sometimes fall swooning in ecstasy to the ground so hard that everyone would believe that all his bones were shattered. When he started dancing just on his own, it seemed the earth quivered like a leaf and tilted, appearing to be about to fall out of balance. This sort of behavior and power is not unnatural for Sri Nityananda, for Sri Anantasesha is his partial expansion, and Sri Chaitanya resides eternally in his heart. One time, Jagannatha Pandit, who had been assigned by the Lord to carry his sannyas danda staff on the journey, wanted to go and beg food from a nearby village. He considered it best to leave the Lord's danda behind, and so he said to Sri Nityananda, "Here, look after the Lord's danda very carefully while I am gone." With this, Jagannatha gave Nityananda the danda. Nityananda Prabhu, who was always meditating on Sri Chaitanya and thus absorbed in Prema Ras, took the danda and sat down. He started laughing and holding the danda in one hand, he began speaking to it. He said, "O danda, you are carried by the same person I always carry in my heart. What logic is there in that?" Nityananda, who is Balaram, got up and then smashed the danda to the ground with immense force, breaking it in three places. The Supreme Lord alone knows his own desires. How can I fathom why Nityananda Balaram broke the danda? Nityananda Prabhu knows intimately the mind of Sri Chaitanya, and Sri Chaitanya also fully understands the mind of Sri Nityananda. They are brothers eternally, and they appear together in every yuga. Ram and Lakshman knew each other's hearts deeply, for they are the one and same Supreme Lord. They have separated only to teach and enhance the loving mellows of devotional service. I am able to know Sri Chaitanya and his pastimes only by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, who other than Balaram himself would have had the power to smash the danda of the Lord. Actually, it is Sri Chaitanya, the supreme teacher, who is teaching, sometimes in many subtle ways. One who can penetrate and understand these puzzles and grasp their essential truth enjoys blissful devotional life. When Jagannatha Pandit returned, he found Nityananda sitting with the 3 broken pieces of the danda lying next to him. At first he was startled and astonished, but soon felt great anxiety. He inquired from Nityananda, "Who broke the danda?" Nityananda replied, "The one who took the danda in the first place. The Lord himself has broken his own danda. Who else would dare and even do such a thing?" Jagannatha thought it best not to retort. He simply picked up the broken pieces of the danda and silently walked away. Jagannatha went directly to where Lord Chaitanya was seated. He threw the broken pieces of the danda in front of the Lord. The Lord looked up and asked, "How was the danda smashed like this? Did you get in a fight? Tell me what has happened." Jagannatha narrated everything. He said, "Nityananda, who is always wrapped in ecstatic trance, has done this." Sri Chaitanya, turning to Nityananda, inquired, "What was your reason for smashing my danda?" Nityananda Prabhu retorted, "They were just some bamboo poles that I broke, and if you cannot forgive me for this action, then punish me as you wish." The Lord replied, "A danda is the residence of all the demigods, and you reduced its importance to some bamboo poles? Who can comprehend the profound esoteric pastimes of Lord Chaitanya? What he considers in his mind he may never explain, and then say something quite different. So if anyone falsely claims to know the Lord's mind, he is certainly ignorant and a fool. Internally, the Lord may decide to vanquish someone, but in his external dealings with the same person, he may be extremely endearing and affable. Similarly, when dealing with his beloved devotees, dearer to him than his own self, he shows externally that he is impartial. These are the various moods and pastimes the Lord reveals. They are inconceivable and inscrutable. Only those who are graced by the Lord's mercy can perceive their true nature. The danda was broken by the Lord's own desire and arrangement, yet now he was showing his anger. The Lord said, "I had only my danda as a companion, but now by Krishna's will, that also is broken and lost. Now I am alone, so all of you go ahead and I will fall behind." No one dared to refute Lord Chaitanya's decision, but the devotees became concerned over this matter. Mukunda intervened and said, "You go ahead of us, my Lord, for we must stay back for some work." Saying, "Very well," with polite agreement, the Lord left, walking away like a lithe mad lion with a subtle gait that is hard to describe. The Lord soon arrived in Jaleshwar village. He went directly to the temple of Lord Shiva, the main deity of that village. The Shiva Lingam deity was well looked after by the local Brahmin priests. The floral decorations in the temple and upon the deity were attractive, and the smell of incense permeated the air, giving the place an exhilarating devotional mood. Devotees in the temple were singing, playing musical instruments, and dancing. The Lord's anger subsided in that joyful atmosphere. He let the loving devotional feelings in his heart gradually flow into and merge with the music. Enlivened by the opulence and influence in the temple of his dear devotee, Lord Shiva, Sri Chaitanya began to dance happily. Lord Chaitanya knows the glorious character of Lord Shiva, for he is a favorite amongst his devotees. If anyone disrespects Lord Shiva, not following the example of Sri Chaitanya, then he cannot be considered a Vaishnava, and all his spiritual advancement is annulled. As the Lord danced, he made joyful sounds so loud that the very mountains seemed to tremble. Lord Shiva's devotees were struck with amazement and thought that Lord Shiva must have appeared in person. The musicians and singers reached again for a further crescendo, and the Lord became fully intoxicated in dancing, losing all contact with the outside world. Meanwhile, his devotees arrived, and Mukunda began to sing, joined by others. Seeing his beloved associates, the Lord experienced great joy and danced more exuberantly than ever, while the devotees danced encircling him. The whole scene was dynamically transformed. Tears flowed out effusively into 100 streams from the Lord's eyes. Who can describe all these happenings properly? The temple of Lord Shiva was now sanctified by the Lord's presence and dancing. The actual purpose for which the temple was built was now fulfilled. After a while, the Lord became peaceful and embraced all his devotees with great love, giving them divine pleasure. Upon seeing Nityananda Prabhu, the Lord rushed to embrace him, and holding him firmly, Chaitanya said, "Your real duty is to calm me down, restrain me, and help me to maintain my sannyas vows. But instead, you are misleading me and increasing my madness. If you wish to continue in this way, then it is better that you finish me off right now. I am openly declaring, whatever you want of me, I will always act accordingly. This is the truth." The Lord then turned to the assembled devotees, instructing everyone, "Always give great care and respect to Sri Nityananda Prabhu. His position is much more elevated than mine. This is not spoken in an exaggerated manner. It is the simple truth. If anyone commits an offense at his lotus feet, but has not offended me directly, still he has refused entry into the more confidential devotional service of the Lord. An offender against Nityananda may be situated in devotional service, hence is considered by some as a devotee, but I reject him. An offender against Nityananda may be situated in devotional service, hence is considered by some as a devotee, but I reject him. When Nityananda Prabhu heard his own praise, he bashfully hung his head. All of the Lord's pastimes are so wonderful, and they bring unlimited pleasure to the devotees. Passing that night in Jaleshwar, at early dawn, the Lord restarted his journey, accompanied by all the devotees. He went towards Vamshadaha, and upon the way was stopped by a Shakta sannyasi, one who worships Devi, the energy of the Lord as the supreme. Devi is Durga. The Lord knew that the stranger was a Shakta, but spoke to him with sweet words. The Lord said, "This is a Shakta sannyasi." The Lord said, "Please tell me, my friend, where you have been for so long that I am meeting you only now. Where are your other friends?" The Shakta became captivated by the Lord and slowly began revealing all information about himself and all the other Shaktas. Sri Chaitanya smiled as he listened to him. The Shakta invited the Lord to his so-called monastery, saying, "Please come now to my mutt, and we can enjoy the bliss drink together." That's the word, I'm sure, is Ananda, and Ananda means wine. The Shakta was referring to an alcoholic drink as bliss, called it Ananda. And this amused Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Prabhu. The Lord replied, "I will definitely come to enjoy your bliss drink. First, you should go ahead to be sure everything is prepared for when we come." The Shakta was very pleased to hear that his invitation had been accepted, and he left quickly, feeling elated. How fathomless is the character of the Lord. The Vedas declare that Sri Krishna is a friend and deliverer of the poor and wretched. Hence the Lord spoke so amiably to the Shakta sannyasi. Upon hearing the conversation, the devotees began to say, "This Shakta now has been delivered, and by his contact other Shaktas will also become purified, just as he is now." The Lord uses various means to liberate the conditioned souls. The Lord arrived at Ramuna village, where is situated the deity of Sri Gopinath. Upon seeing himself in this deity form, the Lord began to dance ecstatically with all his devotees. Lost in love of himself, he became oblivious to everything. He wept piteously in loving separation, and even the cruelest of hearts melted upon hearing him cry. After a few days more of travel, Gaurasundar came to Jajapur village and stayed in the locality called Brahmananagar. There he visited the temple of Sri Adi Varaha, where the self-manifested deity is most wonderful and unique. By seeing this deity, all material entanglements are surely severed. The temple was situated on the bank of the river Vaitarani. By seeing this river, one is cleansed of all sins, and the entire area is a very holy pilgrimage site. Even if just an animal crosses the river at this spot, the demigods see the animal to have attained liberation and taken a four-handed Vaikuntha form. Nilachala Puri is exactly 80 miles away from this spot, which is known as Nabigaya and also Viraja Chetra, as this sacred area is abode of Viraja Devi. The entire area is dotted with many temples and holy spots, which are impossible to tabulate in detail. Upon arriving, the Lord first went with the devotees to take a dip in the holy river at the bathing place named Dashavameda Ghat. Thereafter, all went to the temple to offer worship to Lord Adi Varaha. The Lord danced ecstatically in front of Adi Varaha Deva, and the devotees blissfully sang, creating a wonderful devotionally saturated atmosphere. So, of course, Adi Varaha is referring to the Varaha deity, the boar incarnation. The Lord was very happy to see Yajapur ecstatically dancing before the deity. His divine exhilaration and happiness increased with every moment of time, and he danced with increasing vigor. Suddenly, however, without warning, Sri Chaitanya left the devotees and disappeared. Certainly the Lord's desires and the reasons for his actions are most enigmatic. When the devotees discovered that Sri Chaitanya was missing from their company, they began to look throughout the temple in consternation. Their search proved futile, and they became very worried. Nityananda Prabhu, realizing the plight of the devotees, said, "Please calm yourselves. I am certain I know where the Lord has gone. Surely he wants to visit all the temples and holy places in Yajapur, but alone. Therefore, we should now beg for food and then return to this very spot. Tonight we will rest here, for the Lord is sure to return here tomorrow morning." Relieved, the devotees went out, collected alms, and returned to cook, after which they respected the prasadam altogether. In the meantime, Sri Chaitanya had visited the different temples and holy places and returned to the devotees. The devotees were jubilant and greeted him with loud chanting of Hari Hari. In this way, the Lord with his associates blessed Yajapur with their blissful presence and then continued upon their journey. After a few days, Sri Chaitanya arrived in Cuttack city. From there, he went to take a dip in the crystal clear waters of the river Mahanadi, leaving it more sanctified and fortunate than ever before. He then went to the temple of Sakshi Gopal to offer worship. The charming, unsurpassable beauty of the deity of Sakshi Gopal greatly enraptured Sri Chaitanya, and feeling surging ecstasy, began to roar in thunderous voice. He offered many prayers and exhibited wonderful devotional symptoms, crying in ecstasy for the Lord. Chanting the Maha Mantra opens the spiritual vision of the devotees, enabling them to see the deity forms of the Supreme Lord as non-different from the Lord himself. Sri Krishna Chaitanya is the personality who has inaugurated the chanting of the Maha Mantra, and although he is the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet he is always exhibiting the mood of servitorship to the Supreme Lord. Sri Chaitanya then came to Bhuvaneshwara. The city is actually the hidden Kashi, the residence of Lord Shiva, Sri Shankar. Previously, Lord Shiva had collected a drop of the waters from all the different holy places and brought them here to Bhubaneswar to form the lake known as Bindu Sarovara. Sri Chaitanya knew the significance of the lake as being most dear to Lord Shiva. Thus he took his bath in the lake and further increased its auspiciousness. The linga form of Lord Shiva, worshipped by the lake, is self-manifest. Sri Chaitanya took darshan of the linga and happily mingled with the crowds of Shiva devotees who were all loudly chanting the praises of Lord Shiva. Small burning ghee lamps set in rows offered by the visiting devotees surrounding the linga, which was being bathed constantly. Sri Chaitanya was pleased to see the rituals, worship, and opulent temple of his beloved devotee, Sri Bhuvaneshwara Shiva. The Lord's associates were also very happy in that devotional atmosphere. Lord Shiva is always immersed in the meditation upon the Supreme Lord, which makes him relish the nectar of devotion. Sometimes he cannot keep from dancing, and sometimes he so forgets himself in bliss that he does not realize that he is without clothes. Now the Supreme Lord Sri Gaurachandra, his master, was dancing ecstatically in front of him. The Lord and his devotees spent the night there. I will now describe from the Skanda Purana how Lord Shiva attained this place as his residence. Lord Shiva and his consort Srimati Parvati Devi were living contentedly in Kashi for a very long time. After time, they went to Mount Kailas and left Kashi to be ruled by kings who were ordinary mortal beings. Soon a king named Kashiraj ascended the throne. He was an ardent worshipper of Lord Shiva. However, suddenly, by the will of destiny, he lost everything in a war. Yet he was determined to destroy his conqueror, Sri Krishna, in further battle. This is, okay. This is Kashiraj. He was an ardent worshipper of Lord Shiva. However, suddenly, by the will of destiny, he lost everything in a war. Yet he was determined to destroy his conqueror, Sri Krishna, in further battle. With vengeance in his heart, he sat down to perform the most terrible of austerities, meditating upon Lord Shiva and imploring his benediction. Lord Shiva was attracted to appear before him by the potency of his austerity and offered him any boon he desired. Kashiraj eagerly asked, "I pray for only this boon from you, my Lord, that I may avenge my defeat and destroy Krishna in battle." Lord Shiva is a magnanimous personality, but no one can predict the manner in which he will bestow his favor upon someone. He said to Kashiraj, "O king, prepare for battle. My army of followers will be right behind you in the field. Let me see who is strong enough to defeat you as long as I am behind you with my weapon, the Pashupati." Reassured by Shiva's words, the foolish king Kashiraj again went off to battle against Krishna, smiling confidently. Lord Shiva, accompanied by his associates and followers, followed the army of Kashiraj. His intention was to fight for the king. However, Sri Krishna, the Supersoul situated within the heart of everyone, could immediately know what was happening. He swiftly went with his disc weapon, Sudarshana, to destroy the entire enemy army. The Sudarshana disc of the Lord is invincible, so unchallenged it went straight to Kashiraj and severed his head from his body. Then Sudarshan started burning everything in his wake, destroying the entire city of Varanasi, the capital of Kashiraj. The city was razed to the ground. Unfortunately, this enraged Lord Shiva, and upon seeing his abode being devastated, he released his terrible Pashupati weapon. Yet what can any weapon, however powerful, do against Sudarshan? The Pashupati weapon quickly retreated in fear, and Sudarshana then went after Lord Shiva himself, who fled, terrified of the awesome weapon. The power and heat from the Sudarshan covered the entire world, and Lord Shiva had no place to hide. Lord Shiva found himself in the same predicament as the sage Durvasa, who had also experienced the pursuit of the very same fearsome weapon. Lord Shiva, finally understanding that since the invincible Sudarshan disc was preying in the sense of after him, since the invincible Sudarshan was praying after him, only Sri Krishna could help him out of his anxious predicament. Making his decision, he remembered Sri Krishna, and taking shelter at his lotus feet, he began to offer prayers to the Lord. All glory to the Supreme Godhead, Krishna, the son of Mother Devaki. You are omnipresent and the shelter of all living entities. You give men both good intelligence and alternatively ill motivation. You are the creator, maintainer, and protector. You never see the faults of others and are an ocean of compassion. You are the only well-wishing friend of all those in distress. You are the forgiver of all offenses. So kindly forgive my offenses, since I have taken shelter of you. Sri Krishna, being thus appeased by the prayers of Lord Shiva, recalled his Sudarshan and appeared before him. Lord Shiva saw the Lord faintly smiling, although his eyes were still stern. His cowherd boyfriends and Vrindaban damsels manifested and surrounded the Lord. Sri Krishna said, "O Shiva, you are well aware of my position and power, so what suddenly prompted you to act in this fashion? That degraded king Kashiraj was no better than a little insect, and by siding with him you were fighting with me. Now you have seen the fearsome might of my Sudarshan disc, which not even you could counter. All the most powerful weapons of the universe, such as the Brahmastra and Pashupati Astra combined, are no match for Sudarshan. Furthermore, a unique feature of the Sudarshan disc is that it will certainly attack the owners of the weapons who challenge his power. I am surprised to see that you, of all persons, have become antagonistic towards me. I'm now feeling that there is no one in the entire creation who dislikes me more than you." Hearing these somewhat angry words of chastisement, Lord Shiva felt trepidation within. Lord Shiva threw himself down to the ground and caught hold of the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Surrendering himself to the Lord, Shiva said, "O Lord, the entire creation is subservient to your will. Who can claim to act independently? Just as dry straws are strewn by the wind, so does the entire material nature bend to your command. Everyone executes your wishes. There is no one who can disobey your bidding. Somehow you gave me the feeling of false pride, and blinded by this foolish pride, I was unable to perceive anything else. Only myself is big and powerful. I am helpless, my Lord. It is only you who made me think of this matter. Your lotus feet are my life and soul eternally. Blissfully, I reside in the forest and meditate solely upon your lotus feet. Yet you churn this mood of arrogance within me. What could I do? For I have acted as you desired. Yet in spite of everything, I have certainly committed serious offenses at your lotus feet. So now kindly forgive me and bless me with your mercy. I pray for the boon that I may never again develop such evil intelligence. I have been rightly punished for my arrogance. Now kindly tell me where I can reside now that Kashi is destroyed. Who else but you can give me shelter?" Sri Krishna smiled slightly and spoke kindly. "Listen, my dear Shiva, I am giving you a very beautiful place. Live here with all your associates and followers. This place is known as Ekam Rakavana. In this idyllic surrounding, you will appear and be worshipped. This place is in every way as captivating as Varanasi. Besides, this place is also extremely elevated spiritually, but few know of this truth. Today I will reveal to you the esoteric significance of Ekam Rakavana, which is so dear to me. Ekam Rakavana. On the shores of the ocean, covering a very large area, is the place known as Nilachala. This is also known as Purushottama Kshetra, the abode of the Supreme Person. It has a most pleasing and peaceful atmosphere. Even at the time of the cosmic annihilation, this place remains intact, unscathed. I reside there eternally and daily receive opulent offerings of foodstuffs. Purushottama Kshetra is spread over 80 square miles, and within this area, all living entities possess four-handed forms, though this is visible only to the demigods and their equals. The demigods glorify this place as the most auspicious of all places of pilgrimage. The act of sleeping here is equivalent to deep meditation, samadhi. Similarly, simply taking a lying position here accrues the same pious result as offering obeisances to the deity. Simply walking about here is the same as circumambulation, pradakshina, and all speeches here are the equivalent to glorification of the Supreme. These glories are all enumerated in the Vedas, such as the potency of this kshetra, that even if one eats fish here, it is the same as eating sacrificial vegetarian food, havisha. This place is very dear to me, hence it is known by my name, and all the residents here are my equals. It is outside the jurisdiction of Yamaraj, the guardian of death. I am the judge here who determines the evil and pious deeds of an individual and their results. The place I have designated as your residence lies north of my abode, Jagannath Puri. Your place is, as I have described before, very beautiful and charming. Here one can very easily attain liberation and bliss. This place will be famous as Bhuvaneshwara. The glories of Jagannath Puri greatly impressed Lord Shiva, and he again embraced the lotus feet of the Lord and began to speak, O my Lord, O Lord of my life, I have one prayer. I am always so falsely proud. Therefore, if I remain far away from your association, it is most detrimental for me. I am yearning in my heart to stay close to you, because in your absence I can never benefit from bad association. Means I won't get any benefit from that bad association. If you mercifully consider me your servant, then kindly allow me a place in your own abode. After hearing the wonderful glories of your Dham from your lotus lips, I am feeling an uncontrollable urge to simply live there. Living very humbly, I want to render menial service to you. All I request is just a little space in your Dham. Saying this, Lord Shiva's voice choked with emotion and tears coursed down his cheeks. The Lord was very pleased with the words of Lord Shiva, and he embraced him firmly, saying, Hear me, O Shiva. You are as precious to me as my own body. One who is dear to you is even dearer to me. I reside always within you. Of this there is no doubt. I allow you to stay in my abodes. In fact, you are the protector and maintainer of all the Dhammas. This place, known as Ekam Rakavana, I am certainly giving to you. Stay there and make it your home. Know that this place is also my favorite. I will be most pleased if you stay there always. One who claims to be my devotee but disregards you is only trying to pretend devotion to me. This is how Lord Shiva came to reside in the famous place, Bhuvaneshwara. To this day, Bhuvaneshwara is still manifest. In order to teach everyone that Lord Shiva is very dear to Sri Krishna, Lord Chaitanya now danced in front of Lord Shiva. He was now practically demonstrating all the instructions of Sri Krishna as they are found in the Puranas and other Vedic scriptures. Clapping his hands, Lord Chaitanya danced and sang, Shiva Rama Govinda. The Lord then offered worship to Lord Shiva with all his devotees. The Supreme Lord is the supreme instructing spiritual master. One who does not follow his instructions will suffer due to his grievous mistake. Okay, so I'll stop here and tomorrow we'll continue. Don't stop it.
Shakti says Dandavat.
Hmm?
Maharaj.
Who?
Divya Shakti.
Okay.
Hari Gopal Castillo Cruz has Dandavat Gurudev.
All right. I done the best to them.
Namaste Das. Dandavats.
Oh, I have to take this and put it here. So. Hariharaya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Hariharaya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Jaravaya Maravaya Keshavaya Nama Jaravaya Maravaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudan Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Madana Mohan Giridhari Gopinatha Madana Mohan Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Jahoite Vignana Shabishta Puran Jahoite Vignana Shabishta Puran H.I. Gosai Jar Mui Taradas H.I. Gosai Jar Mui Taradas Tasavar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras Tasavar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras Tadir Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas Tadir Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas Janame Janame More Abhilas Janame Janame More Abhilas H.I. Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas H.I. Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Manjai Aman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Manjai Aman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Narottam Das Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Narottam Das Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Narottam Das Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Narottam Das Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Rama Rama, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtadhara Sadashishi Mad. Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtadhara Sadashishi Mad. Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswain Thakur ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai. Namachari Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Premsigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Vishvaparanya Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Namadip Dham ki jai. Shri Ram Mayapur ki jai. Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Saparshada Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Koladvip ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai. Soquel Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram ki jai. Ganga Devi ki jai. Tulasi Maharani ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Vrindaban ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopi Govardhan Sham Kunda Radha Kunda Galindi Yamuna Jo ki jai. Shri Purushottam Dham ki jai. Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Jo ki jai. Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya Shri Nrsingadev ki jai. Bhakta Prabhara Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Hari Ram Sankirtan ki jai. All the assembled devotees ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.
Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki jai.